Hey guys, today's video is going to cover how I go about cleaning the wheels on my locomotives. As we know, they get dirty and need to be cleaned as such. Before I get too far along, I just want to say, obviously my layout's in the basement and my furnace is running and all that, you know, with the air conditioning, so I apologize for the background noise. So we'll just make the best out of it that we can. Wheels, like I was saying, they get dirty for various reasons, you know, whether it's smoke fluid residue, normal dust accumulation, maybe that conductive reaction between the track and the wheels, you know, who knows. But either way, they get dirty, they got to be cleaned. So I'm going to go ahead and show you, like I said, how I go about doing that. There's a lot of ways to do this, like so many other things in this hobby. Some folks like to use Q-tips and some denatured alcohol or isopropyl alcohol and just let the engine run and clean the wheels that way. What I found that works really well and allows me to get the job done quickly and easily is I use a Dremel tool. And on the end of the Dremel tool, I don't know how well you can see that there, is just a little wire wheel. I've actually run it down so that the wires are very, very short. They're not very long. I found that it's less apt to shed those little pieces, those little wires, which obviously with these locomotives is huge. You don't need a little piece of this wire getting into the gearbox or anything like that, because that's just going to wreak havoc on things. I also just weathered this locomotive, so these wheels are a little bit dirtier than they normally would be. So I thought, what a perfect time to go ahead and get started and show you how we go about doing this, or like I said, how I do it. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit, take you down. We're going to work on this engine truck first, okay? Some people refer to it as a pilot truck, whichever. I've got the locomotive tilted a little bit so I get a better angle on the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and take this paintbrush, little plastic tip on here, and I'm just going to insert it in a space here to help try and hold this so it doesn't flop around on me. Now, obviously, as we know, these wheels are free spinning, okay, as I'm sure you can see there. So what I like to do is hold the wheel on the opposite side from what I'm working so I can control when it turns, how much it turns, which therefore means, you know, you're using this Dremel one-handed, so be careful, hold on to it. Okay, it could easily walk away from you. Okay, and you don't want to mess up your locomotive. You don't want to hurt yourself. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to go ahead and get started on a little bit of that. I'm going to let the camera run. I'm just going to show you a little bit of what I do, and you can just take it from there. Now all I'm trying to do here is clean off the gunk or a little bit of paint residue in my case. We're not trying to remachine the surface of the wheel here, so just a little bit of light, gentle pressure works just fine. You don't want to get too heavy with it, too heavy-handed. You don't want to dig into anything, okay? So there we go. I went around, I did that one wheel, and I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but if you look at the difference between this wheel versus this wheel, I'm sure you can tell there's a little bit of a difference there in the sheen or the appearance of the wheel, okay? As opposed to, like I said, the one that my finger's touching here. See if I can take it in just a little bit more for you. I'm going to take this brush out of the way. So as you see there, now we got a nice clean wheel, and it only took a few seconds to do this, okay? This isn't an all-day project. This isn't one of these things where you're going to be down here for hours, okay, messing away with this. It's something that's very quick, very essential, again, to helping operational reliability. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do these other three wheels on here, and then when I come back to the video, I'm going to show you how I tackle these drive wheels and the rest of the wheels of the locomotive. Okay, hi, we're back. I've just completed doing the remaining three wheels of the engine truck. As you can see here, pretty clean now. I went around, did them all pretty quickly. For you, it was just a couple of seconds. For me, it took me literally about 1 minute to do this. Very simple, quick, fast, and honestly relatively mess-free. There ain't a lot of stuff flying around all over the place here. So, like I said, we got that engine truck completed. Now we're going to move on to these drive wheels of the locomotive. So let me reposition the camera and we'll get right to that. All right, we're back. I've repositioned the locomotive. We're going to go ahead and begin cleaning these drive wheels. Now, I'm sure maybe some of you guys maybe already do this yourselves or have seen it in maybe some videos and stuff like that. The easiest way to go about doing these is to obviously get the wheels turning, get the locomotive running, okay? Right now I have mine just sitting upside down on some thick towels, okay, terry cloth towels. I'm actually in the process of building a proper engine cradle, but for this video, this will work just fine. It's very soft, very cushioning, so I'm not going to damage any of the details on the top of my locomotive. So that said, get it upside down on a towel like this, a couple of towels, or if you've got an engine cradle, go ahead and use it that way as well, okay, and just get the engine seated in there, and we'll do this, like I said, by applying power to the locomotive. Now I'm going to say in advance, really the best thing to use is get some power leads. Use the little alligator clips, okay, and that way you can clip it onto the power roller, okay, and to ground that out on the axle or something. I don't have any alligator clips right now, unfortunately, so what I'm just going to use some wire, okay. I've made a connection on some scrap wire that I have. Now, first thing you need to obviously make sure you do is you want the power to be turned off to your entire layout, okay? You don't want this thing suddenly getting power. It's not really going to hurt anything, but you don't want to cause a spark since we're applying these leads, okay, in this fashion, okay, or even with the alligator clips. I just prefer to do it, everything powered off. That way I minimize the risk of causing any type of damage to the electronics of the locomotive. All right, I just double checked to make sure mine was off, which it wasn't, so I just switched it off. What I found with these little spade connectors is right next to the one of these power pickups here, okay, either one will work, front or back. There's actually just enough space for me to sit there and slide it in, and you don't need to force nothing. It fits very nicely between the roller, okay, and the little axle that it rides on and this bracket, okay. And then for the ground, since I just yanked it out of there, let me put it back. For the ground, I'm just going to go ahead and place it between the trailing truck wheel and the trailing truck frame, and it'll hold it there. Now that said, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn the power onto my layout, and we'll go ahead and get going here. I'm going to let the camera roll just so you can obviously see and hear what's going on. All right, I've got the power back applied to my layout now. And I'm going to go ahead and just start it up like a normal sequence, okay, nothing special. This is an MTH product, so I'm using DCS. So we're going to start it up, just let it run through its little startup sequence. And then, like I say, what you're able to do at this point is just use your remote and apply just a little bit of power to it. And there you go, things start turning. So what I like to do is have it running at about, 4 or 5 miles per hour, okay? What I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to go ahead and turn the sound of the locomotive down so we can hear me speak and not the engine chuffing away. All right, so we've got that turned down now. Wheels are turning nicely. Nice, simple, steady motion. Again, about 5 scale miles per hour is what I like to have them run at. Nothing too fast, nothing too slow. I'm going to go ahead and use my Dremel again. I think we'll start with this drive tire right here, okay? Let's get started on that right now. Now it's going to take a few passes to do this. It's not going to come off in just one quick little swoop. Part of what's still on the edge of these tires is just normal paint from the factory. The other part of it is just some gunk from running the train, as well as some of the paint from when I weathered the engine. There's a bit of overspray on it. Okay? So we're going around here, like I said, just back and forth. Well, we're letting the engine do most of the work, which is great. Because now I can just stand here and hold my Dremel with 2 hands. I got good control over it. Very simple, very quick. Now I'm going to hold it up against the inside of the wheel here so I can get the flange real well. Okay. I got that cleaned up really well. I'm going to go ahead and shut that off now so everybody can hear me a little bit better. But now as you're looking here, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a bit. Okay, again, we did that lead driving wheel on the lower left corner of your screen here. As you can see, it's pretty shiny, pretty cleaned up now. I took the paint off, took all the dirt and debris off. And again, some of what you're still seeing on here is just factory paint from MTH when the locomotive was produced. I'm going to go ahead and do both of these drive tires up front. I'll probably do these as well. Obviously back here with our rubber traction tires, what do you do? Well, with these, I'm just going to take a Q-tip, a little bit of alcohol, just to lightly clean some of the paint off of the rubber. I haven't ever had any problems with it prematurely degrading these traction tires. I haven't had any kind of problems with that. I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, do the rest of these tires in the same fashion I just showed you. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the trailing truck, which you can't see, and the locomotive wheels. When I complete that, we'll come back, we'll take an overall look at the locomotive, talk about a few more things. Okay, guys, we're back. One thing that I didn't discuss earlier in the video that I still like to do right at the end after I've cleaned all the wheels, which as you can see here, I have completed. We've done the engine truck, the drive tires, trailing truck. I've also completed the same process on the tender wheels as well that I showed you earlier in the video. What I like to do now is come back at this point and I'll take a Q-tip and some alcohol and just gently rub it along the wheels here again while the dry wheels are running, and then the engine truck I can just spin myself to remove any last remaining bit of residue on there and just have a good clean surface before the engine goes back to the track. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and power up the engine again just like we did before. I'm going to go ahead and turn the volume back down again so you can hear me. Again, I apologize for the furnace in the background, but nothing I can do. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and get the wheels turning again. For this process, I'm going to get it going a little faster. I like to do about 15 scale miles per hour on the drive tires. Just makes the process go a little quicker. And again, you don't want this Q-tip dripping wet, okay? Just lightly damp. And again, just hold it on there gently. And as you can see, okay, no way you can see this. I'll try to bring this up for you. There's still going to be some residue on there, okay? So that's why this is a good step. Find a clean spot on your Q-tip, move on to your next tire, okay? And if I need to, I'll come back over it with it running, like I say, and I'll do this a couple more times. All right? You got it upside down, you got it in this position, you've cleaned off your tires, take the time to do the last little step, okay? All right, we can see all the grime I've gotten off of there, okay, even after taking that wheel to it. Like I said, this will take a few times around. Don't be in a hurry with it. This whole project here on this video has taken me all of about 30 minutes, not even, I don't think. So hold it on here again. We're just going after that last little bit of residue, okay? Because you're still going to have some that's going to come up. It's going to be almost like a dust on there, all right? So don't feel, discouraged, thinking, oh, I just did this and I'm still getting all this gunk off of here. Well, you know what? It takes off the hard caked on stuff real quick. And now you're coming back with the alcohol to get the finer stuff, which I've completed, okay? And I'm going to do this, like I said, for all the wheels on the locomotive and the tender. Obviously, the engine truck, trailing truck, we got to spin those ourselves, but this is what we do so we can keep our locomotives running properly, clean, and take care of them, I mean, look at what we spend on these things, It's crazy to think about it, okay? All right, those are pretty well. Go ahead and get this last one here. Now, it's like I say, there's so many ways you guys can go about doing this, okay? You don't have to use a wire wheel. Some guys like to just use the Q-tip, just like I'm doing right now. Okay? Whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you like to do. It's your engine. Do what you prefer. Okay? But that said, there we go. That's what I've done. Wheels are clean now. I'm going to have a good contact with my rail. Last part of the video, I'm going to put the engine up on the track, and we'll just take a final peek at it from that position. All right, guys, we're back. As you can see, I got the locomotive up on the track, powered up. Everything's functioning properly. Just wanted to kind of recap here a little bit and talk about what we did. Again, we sat here and we cleaned our engine truck wheels, we cleaned our drive tires, trailing truck, and again, I did the same process on the tires for the tender as well. Again, it's very, very critical that we keep these things clean like this, okay? It's gonna, at the very least, it's just going to ensure a very nice operating session for you, you know, that coupled with keeping your track clean. Again, there's multiple ways of doing what I did in terms of keeping the tires clean. You want to just use some Q-tips and take your time that way, go right ahead. Whatever you're comfortable with and whatever you like to do. Again, using what I did, very quick, very simple. The entire project, truthfully, took me maybe 30 minutes tops for one engine. Now, do I sit in my basement and do 5, 6, 7, 8 engines at a time? Well, if I've got the time and I have nothing else to do, sure. If not, I'll do one at a time, you know, do one a day, one every couple of days, whatever the case may be, you know, but you might have to do it more frequently depending on how often you run your locomotives and the conditions of your basement. You know, my track, even though my basement is unfinished, stays pretty clean, but that said, I still go through and I clean it a couple of times a week just because it doesn't hurt anything. My locomotives, again, it depends on how often I run them. I actually am kind of just a bit particular about some of that stuff, so I keep track of it in a notebook. You know, I write down, you know, the locomotives I have and when I did what maintenance to it. So that said, when you have your engine and you've got it upside down and you're cleaning your you know, the wheels and stuff like that, maybe take an extra moment. Maybe that'd be the perfect time to go ahead and give each axle a little drop of oil. If you have, you know, gearboxes that need grease, which most of these do, remove the inspection screw, take a peek in there, add a little grease while you're there. Check the underside of the locomotive overall. Make sure there's, you know, are there any screws loose? Is there anything that's gotten trapped in there? Some type of debris that you didn't see normally? You know, just a good overall inspection. I mean, with what we pay for these engines, guys, it only makes sense to take that few seconds to stop and check everything. You've got it upside down, take a look, go through it all. Make it, you know, a big just one-stop shop kind of thing, you know? And the more often you do it, obviously, the more fluid, if you will, you'll become with it. It'll be a much quicker process, and you can be assured that, hey, you know what, you've done your part to maintain your locomotive to the best of your ability, and you've done your part to ensure that, hey, you know, my locomotives are going to run properly, and they're going to be around for years to come, you know? I mean, that's what we all want, you know? So take that time and go ahead and just keep an eye on stuff. As you can see, I weathered this locomotive. I'm going to talk about all that in a separate video. Those stripes in that tender, I can assure you, are not that bold. They are much more understated in person. But that said, that's going to go ahead and conclude this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I just want to emphasize, this is just my way of doing it. Try it. See if you like it. If not, you know, go with what you're comfortable with and what makes you happy. Enjoy, have fun, and happy railroading, and let's all do what we can to support the hobby for future generations.